Does Kevin Durant not know ball? Or is he just playing dumb to justify a decision he made to join the Golden State Warriors 10 years ago at this point, and in the process taking a huge shot at Klay Thompson? Kevin Durant's on Instagram today saying that this Philadelphia 76ers team is better or as good as the Golden State Warriors when he joined in 2017, which is a crazy take to anyone who knows basketball. He's viewing it from simply a points per game discussion, which is ridiculous. And I'll read his quote exactly. He said, "Ain't close. Joel MVP recently. Jaylen Brown, recent finals MVP. Tyrese Maxey, all-star the last 3 years. We all know what Braun does. Klay Thompson, never an MVP candidate in nothing. 22 points per game. Draymond, 14 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Steph, an MVP, just like Joel was. I don't get how this Warriors team is better on paper." That is crazy to anyone who has watched basketball. We all know that Warriors team in 2016, before Kevin Durant got there, was elite. They won 73 basketball games, the most all time in the regular season, and then made the NBA Finals. They blew a 3-1 lead. But to act like that's even close to the 76ers were last year is crazy to me. Let's recount history as it actually happened and take a look back at both of these basketball teams. And the other thing, why Kevin Durant feels the need to take a shot at Klay Thompson is beyond me, because Klay Thompson, being one of the greatest shooters of all time, one of the greatest players you could have on a team with other great players because of his ability to move without the basketball, catch and shoot, space the floor, defend at a super high level. Kevin Durant, all he wanted to talk about there was points per game. KD, you know there's more to basketball than points per game. That means something. But that's not all that matters. Draymond Green is one of the greatest defensive players of all time. Klay Thompson, one of the greatest role players of all time. So let's break down that team for a second. Steph Curry in 2015-2016 averaged 30.1 points per game and was the first ever unanimous MVP, being a back-to-back MVP. Obviously, we know they won the title in 2015. Steph Curry won MVP. And then in 2016, Steph Curry followed it up with a unanimous MVP and one of the greatest guard seasons we've ever seen. Draymond Green that year averaged 14 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, and 7.4 assists. He was second in Defensive Player of the Year. He was seventh in MVP and second team All-NBA. So don't undersell Draymond and his value and how good of a basketball player he was when Kevin Durant joined that team. Draymond Green was one of the best basketball players in the NBA because of his contributions on the defensive end of the court. So miss me with the 14 points per game. He was voted 7th in MVP. Klay Thompson, 22.1 points per game on 43% three-point shooting. He also was 3rd team All-NBA. So they had a guy who finished unanimous MVP, 7th in MVP voting, and 2nd team All-NBA. And Klay Thompson was 3rd team All-NBA, being the greatest floor spacer, catch and shoot guy, in the discussion, I guess, with a guy like Ray Allen. But Klay Thompson's on the very short list of guys you would want to have on your squad if you have a bunch of other really good basketball players. Let's talk about their team stats, because we know they had really good players around them with Andre Iguodala, a young Harrison Barnes, Andrew Bogut, Sean Livingston, who was money in the mid-range if you watch basketball at the time. That Warriors team was number 1 in the NBA in points per game, number 1 in three-point percentage, number 1 in field goal percentage, number 4 in rebounds per game, number 1 in assists per game, number 2 in blocks per game. They were number 1 in offensive rating, number 6 in defensive rating, and number 1 in true shooting percentage. That Warriors team won 73 games for a reason. Kevin Durant, you are a champion. You are a 2-time finals MVP, you've won a regular season MVP, and you're one of the greatest scorers of the basketball of all time. You don't have to take shots at your former teammates in Klay Thompson or that Warriors team in order to justify winning this Larry O'Brien trophy. You can rest on that, and people are not going to change their opinion of you going to the Golden State Warriors at this point. 20, 30 years down the road, when you start to have people in the media that didn't watch basketball at the time, it'll probably change a little bit. They'll look back at how many points you scored, Kevin Durant, and the fact that you won 2 finals MVPs, and they'll forget the fact of how good that Warriors team was, and the narrative will change a little bit. But right now, in this moment, you cannot change the facts and the way that that team was viewed when you join them. Now, let's compare that. Obviously, Kevin Durant coming to the Golden State Warriors, he averaged 28.2 points per game, was 5th in MVP, 8.2 rebounds per game, and 51% from the field. So, on that basketball team, they had the unanimous MVP. They had the guy who finished 5th in MVP in Kevin Durant, the guy who finished 7th in MVP in Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, who was 3rd team All-NBA, and one of the greatest players you could have, again, around other superstars because of his elite three-point shooting and defense. Let's compare it to the Philadelphia 76ers last season. As a team, they were 16th in offensive rating, 17th in defensive rating. Not a great basketball squad. Number 21 in true shooting percentage, 14 points per game. Number 23 in three-point percentage. Number 17 in rebounds per game. And number 29 in assists per game. They made the second round of the playoffs where they got swept by the New York Knicks. They barely made it past the first round against the Boston Celtics with a great comeback, albeit. But you're talking about a team that is relying on Joel Embiid, claiming that he's the same MVP. Current Joel Embiid is the same level player as Steph Curry was after his back-to-back MVPs is a ridiculous take. Kevin Durant is really insulting our intelligence with that, and it either makes you question, does he not understand the condition that Joel Embiid currently is in? Or is he just playing dumb? Because it's really hard to understand why Kevin Durant would make a comment like that, saying that Joel Embiid was an MVP just like Steph Curry is. Let's look at these guys from last year. Tyrese Maxey averaged 28 points per game, was All-NBA 3rd team. Awesome player, had a great year, really on the rise. I love Tyrese Maxey. VJ Edgecombe was 3rd and Rookie of the Year. He averaged 16 points per game. Joel Embiid played 38 games last year and was hurt in the second round of the playoffs, being a huge reason why they had no chance against the New York Knicks. Jaylen Brown was 6th in MVP, averaged 28.7 points per game. So that team has talent. Obviously, we know on paper, that roster has a ton of talent and a lot of really good basketball players that have done great things in their career. Obviously, we know Embiid is I believe he's 32 years old, but he's very old for a 32-year-old. He's dealt with tons of injuries. I believe he's played 40% of the possible basketball games over the last 3 years. Embiid is not that same MVP level player that he was before. He's not very good on the defensive end of the court, and he's not reliable to play consistently. We know that availability is very important. Everyone's heard the saying, the best ability is availability. And while I think that's a little overstated, because no one wants me suiting up for 82 games for their favorite team and shooting some jump shots, but Joel Embiid not being able to play basketball games has to matter. Kevin Durant, you can't act like that's not true. LeBron James just saying we know what LeBron does. LeBron is awesome, but he's in year 24, averaging 20.9 points per game last year. LeBron James is not the same level player as Kevin Durant was when he joined that Golden State Warriors team. And it's so frustrating to me because I love basketball. I love talking about the history of the game. And at this point, 10 years ago is basketball history. Why do we have to try to change it to justify your decision? Stand on it. Say, I wanted to go to Golden State to join a team that played basketball the right way, and I wanted to be a part of that and see what we could accomplish together. And you accomplished incredible things. You're one of the best basketball teams of all time. And a lot of people believe the greatest basketball team of all time. There's no need to try so hard to change the narrative. And it's why so many people think that Kevin Durant is insecure. And I'm not going to sit here and try to get in Kevin Durant's psyche. I don't think that's my, job responsibility. And I have, no medical training to try to understand the way that Kevin Durant thinks. But why do you have to do this? Jaylen Brown, we know, is a really good basketball player, was 6th at MVP last year. openly, they said around the league, his market was way lower than we all expected. His return was Paul George and a couple of picks. So Jaylen Brown, not the same level player as Steph Curry. Draymond Green is one of the greatest defensive players of all time. It's just very frustrating when you look at the 76ers team, a team that I openly don't think is very good. Maybe I'm overstating that. I don't think is a championship level team. I think they have great talent on paper, but I don't trust Embiid. I don't really like the construction of this roster together. And to act like roster construction doesn't matter is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to say. When Embiid goes down, the backup centers for the Philadelphia 76ers are not very good. And all of these guys needing the basketball at the same time. And last year they were number 29 in assists per game, and you're bringing in Jaylen Brown, who needs the basketball. It's a team that didn't pass great last year. You're bringing in another guy that needs the basketball to high level. Obviously, Braun can pass the basketball. But you're putting a ton of pressure on a guy in year 24. Basketball fit matters a ton. So don't just bring up to me how many points per game a team scored the previous season. That is not the most important thing. The way that the pieces fit together, Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson are an elite trio, one of the greatest trios of all time, because of their differences in skill sets. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, really good defenders, Draymond being one of the best all time. Draymond playing that enforcer role. Steph Curry being able to handle the basketball, move without the basketball. The greatest, shooter of all time. Klay Thompson being able to spread the floor, catch and shoot, defend the other team's best, forward or guard. Those guys fit together so well, and you're plugging in a player in Kevin Durant, who is one of the easiest plug-and-play superstars of all time, arguably the greatest plug-and-play superstar of all time. That team was perfect. It was beautiful to watch. If you could just sit there and enjoy basketball at its highest form, watching those guys play basketball together. If you turn on the Philadelphia 76ers this year, it is not going to look like that. I can promise you that. Even if you think I'm wrong and you think the 76ers are title contenders, it will not look like that Golden State Warriors team. There's no chance. So I'm just really frustrated by Kevin Durant. He's a player that I love, to watch. He's been great for a majority of my life in the NBA. So I don't understand why he feels the need, the insecurity to try to constantly justify his decision to join the Golden State Warriors. It is what it is at this point. It was 10 years ago. Go out there, try to compete with your young Rocket squad and not roast them all on Twitter, if we can help ourselves there. But all in all, just frustrating for me as a guy who loves basketball and the history of the game, so I felt like I wanted to talk about it. If you love the NBA, make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. We're growing quickly. We're talking about basketball all off season, while a lot of shows are focused on the NFL, baseball, things like that. We are focused on the NBA. Appreciate y'all watching. Sabor Gao.